I remember after going through social media and basically trying to figure out anything I could about my girlfriend, I realized that apparently her name wasn't even her real name. And it even got to the point where I confronted her, and let's just say her excuse for dating me was the most insane thing ever. I basically discovered that my girlfriend is fake. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another insane but honestly really sad story. Now, this story takes place 2 years ago, and 2 years ago, I was just a content creator making videos online and basically telling crazy stories like I do right now. And honestly, don't get me wrong, even though we started to gain a lot in popularity over the internet, I still want to be like, you know, connected with people in real life, because becoming a content creator makes you chronically online all the time. Like, the amount of hours I would sit on my desk back 2 years ago was really bad, to the point where it was really unhealthy. So I remember I ended up actually talking to my parents over the phone, and my mom ended up telling me, Bubba, why don't you just go on walks, you know, go meet people, go have fun. You keep being at home working. Like, thank you, you're working, that's good, but have a social life. And at that moment, she was right. Honestly, the last time I had like a crazy social life was right when I moved out and, you know, was on my Devil's Tango party phase and just doing anything that walked. So I decided to basically get ready and get dressed that morning, and I ended up trying to get some fresh air instead of working on my computer. I remember I went downstairs and I ended up going to a nice cafe that was nearby. I sat down at the cafe and just started basically, you know, drinking coffee on my laptop, because I don't know why, I just could not go anywhere without making sure work was okay. But as I'm sitting on my laptop, out of nowhere, a girl ends up appearing right beside me. She looks beside me, kind of starts looking into my laptop and looks at me and says, I'm sorry, what are you doing right now? Oh, I'm just doing work stuff. Why, what's up? I ended up closing the laptop because I didn't want to show her any analytics from my channels I had. And she says, oh, nothing. I was just, you know, just hanging out at the cafe. Do you come here often? I've never actually seen you before. Oh, I mean, not really. No, I'm usually at home working, I guess. Oh, okay, cool. So like, what do you do for work? Now, every time someone asks me this question nowadays, I don't actually say like I'm a creator on the internet, because I don't want people to know about it. To be honest, people end up looking at me differently and treating me really weird, since I don't know, apparently people online aren't like normal people. So I ended up saying to her, oh, I'm just an editor. I just edit videos online. That way she wouldn't know that I had a following, and basically I wasn't lying to her, because I did edit videos that time somewhat. I remember me and her, we started talking about life and stuff, and then one thing led to another. We ended up basically bonding over the one thing that I did not expect to do with this girl, and that was video games. Me and her, we ended up loving Call of Duty, and we both played like basically all the same games back then growing up. And that wasn't even the funny part, but her favorite game was the same as mine, Batman Arkham Knight. I don't know how many of you guys are big Batman fans, but I know I am, since he is the best superhero. So comment down below if you agree. So, but me and her, we were the biggest fans of Batman, and one thing I started to realize was that this girl and me would be like the perfect couple. I ended up basically asking her what she's like doing in the future, and basically decided to actually properly ask her out. And then she said to me, oh, I mean, like, yeah, we can like go out. I'm down. I would love to. That wasn't a no, and honestly, it's been a minute since I last went out with the chick, since, you know, I've been always super busy with work. So I was really happy, and I ended up basically heading home after that. When I head home, I remember she ended up texting me, and me and her, we started talking over the phone a lot. And honestly, I started to realize that that day at the cafe, we spoke more about all the things I liked, because she apparently liked the same thing. And I realized that I really didn't know much about her. So I ended up basically searching her name on social medias that she gave me, and I ended up searching it everywhere, from every platform I could think of to every online website. And I started to realize that there was really nothing on this girl. It was either this girl wasn't online at all, which would be a good thing, because I would not want her to watch my videos, or maybe she didn't exist at all. I don't know. I started to get really suspicious, because the more I scoured through the internet, I really saw nothing. I remember I ended up texting her afterwards, planning our next date, and I decided to basically make sure that the date that I go on next with her, she would talk more about herself, just so I can figure out who she was. I remember 2 days go by, and me and her, we ended up planning another date at the same cafe. And when I went to the cafe, I ended up walking over, and I saw her there sitting down waiting for me. She ended up bringing her own laptop, and me and her, we ended up actually playing games together, literally in the same cafe. It was something I've never done with a girl, but honestly, I loved it, and I guess so did she, since she really enjoyed it. But one thing I started to realize was that since we kept playing games together, we didn't actually get to talk, and she never got to tell me anything about herself. I started to kind of worry, and afterwards I ended up looking at her and said, well, this has been a fun date. Do you want to like maybe come back to my place? I mean, I can. Yeah, it's just like I got a lot of work to do today, and like honestly, like I have some things scheduled, so maybe next time. Yeah, no, if you're busy, it's all good. I just, you know, wanted to see like, you know, if I could see you again. Oh, don't worry, you'll definitely see me again. Honestly, like you're definitely the man for me. When she said that, I got super excited. I was so happy to the point where honestly, like I felt like a helpless romantic back in high school again. It really got my gears going, and I remember I ended up basically going back to my place, and I was in love. I am not joking. Knowing that this girl was beautiful, smart, outstanding, and on top of that, she liked video games and also liked Batman. Like, is there any better combination? I thought this was the perfect girl until I realized that, well, not everything seems to be as it looks. Because I remember, since I decided not to do any work that day, I ended up laying down in bed thinking about her, and then one thing led to another. I ended up getting a phone call. Me grabbing the phone as fast as possible, I thought it was the girl that I liked, but then afterwards I ended up seeing it was just one of my friends that was from back in high school. I ended up answering the phone saying, hey, like, what's going on? Yo, Bubba, bro, we're going to the club. You want to come, bro? I don't know, man. Why, are you working? Like always? Huh? Actually, no, I'm not. All right, man, then come down to the club. Let's go all hang out. At that moment, I kind of sat there thinking, you know what? Like, I might as well go out. That way I can keep my mind distracted and not think about this girl 24/7 like a sim. So I remember I got dressed and I ended up meeting my friends at the club. And when we walked in there, I remember we ended up basically like all talking about life and stuff. And all of them always made fun of me for the videos I made, which I mean, I don't blame them. They're really good life stories that happened in my life. So I wasn't complaining. But then I remember out of nowhere, I decided to get some fresh air since the dance floor was boiling hot and I was sweating like a sinner at church. To the point where I got up and told my friends, oh, yo, I'm gonna go outside real quick. I just need some fresh air. Okay, man, just be safe out there. And I remember I ended up heading outside. And once I got out there, I couldn't believe my eyes. I ended up seeing that there was the really fine girl that I saw at the cafe that I basically went on a date with. And I looked at her and thought, wait a second, she said she was busy tonight. And then afterwards, when I was about to walk up to her and basically go and say hi to her, out of nowhere, a guy came around. A guy came around, ended up grabbing her by the waist and kissing her. And at that moment, I froze and didn't say anything. I froze and just watched her as she just made out with this dude. And I basically didn't know what to say. I was in shock because she literally told me that day that I was the one for her. But then now she's making out with another dude. Was this some kind of mind trick, some game? Like, I don't understand. Did she have personality disorder? Was this something mentally? Like, I don't understand what was going on. To the point where I started to panic and I said, I'm just gonna go inside. At that moment, I ended up turning around right away and I noticed that she said my name and said, wait, Bubba? At that moment, I didn't pay any attention to her. I just went inside and hid with my friends and basically pretended like I never saw her. I don't think she realized I was there that night, but honestly, I was definitely gonna confront her on this. I just didn't know how. I remember throughout the night at the club, I remember I was kind of just hanging out with my friends over time and I kind of like started to care less and less about what this girl thought of me and basically tried to move on and try to rizz up some other girls. But then when I entered the club bathroom, out of nowhere, I ended up seeing the guy that she made out with. And when I saw him, I ended up deciding to basically take the urinal right beside him, which is totally broken because that's like bro code 101 to not ever do that in the bathroom stall. But I did it anyway. And I looked at him and said, yo, who you here with tonight? Huh? What? Oh, I'm with my girlfriend, man. Yeah, we've been celebrating our 4 years. 4 years is what I said to him. And he acted like I was in shock about the 4 years. But in reality, I was in shock because that girl was legit on a date with me that morning. At that moment, I looked at him and said, damn, man, 4 years. Tell me about her. What's so cool about her? Oh, nothing, man. Like me and her, we get along so great. Like she likes everything I like and I like everything she likes. And like, I don't know why we have so much in common. At that moment, I was in shock. And as I'm holding my eggplant at the urinal, I ended up realizing that this guy had the same exact experience I had 2 days ago when I first met this girl. In a way, it made no sense to me. But then afterwards, I ended up asking, wait, so what's her name? Oh, her name is blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say her name because obviously for privacy reasons. But when he said the name of this girl, I was in shock. Not because it was the same name, but because it was a totally different name. I didn't know what to think and I just stood there frozen. I was majorly in shock. And at that moment, I ended up going up to my friends that I went to the club with and said, yo, guys, I'm not feeling so good. I'm going to go home. I ended up going back to my place and afterwards, I ended up sitting down on my bed thinking, what am I going to do to confront this girl? Because there was no way she was just going to tell me that she changed her name and everything and changed all her personalities just for another guy. So what I decided to do was basically do the ultimate test and basically ended up texting her saying that I would love to see her the next day. And she agreed over the phone since she was still awake, since she was still at the club. And I remember the next morning was the most insane thing ever because I remember the next morning when I woke up, I ended up going down to the cafe once again. And this cafe was about to experience something insane because I remember I was standing outside the cafe waiting for her. And when I saw her walking towards me, I ended up waving at her saying, hey, like, how's it going? And instead of saying the name that she gave me, I ended up using the name that she uses with the guy at the club. I remember when I said that, she didn't act strange at all. She didn't even act shocked. She just acted like nothing ever happened. And me and her, throughout the whole time of our date, I ended up just calling her that name. And then one thing led to another. Like literally right as the date was about to end, I ended up looking at her saying, so what'd you do last night? Oh, nothing. I just like, hung out with family and like, just hung out with my little sister. Why? What's going on? Oh, I was just curious. Like, what's your sister's name again? She ended up saying the same name that she gave me the other day. And then afterwards I said, wait, so what was your name again? Because the whole time I've been calling you this when apparently you also respond to this name. At that moment, she ended up standing there frozen and her eyes opened wide knowing that she just messed up. And she said to me, it's a nickname. Are you sure? Because the guy at the club yesterday told me something different. At that moment, she realized that the guy at the club was me that walked away. And she ended up basically confessing everything and saying how she knew I was a creator online and she knew I was like somewhat famous and that she just wanted to date me because, well, she just wanted to know the insides of a YouTuber. At that moment, I got really upset and just really annoyed. And I got up and said, honestly, the whole time, like, you were basically a person that you weren't. The whole time, the girl that I wanted to be my girlfriend was fate. And at that moment, I walked out of the cafe making a scene and everyone looked at me. And I just went back to my place, laid down in bed and decided, you know what? Maybe staying in my apartment just making videos was better for me anyway. But if you guys believe that I should go out and just basically get more social and get a social life, then follow for more embarrassing stories just like this one. Peace out, guys.